D. I'm trying to smile at you because I love you and because it's really, well, you need it right now. It's been kind of a heavy morning. So, welcome to the channel for Catalyst Energies. I'm so grateful that you're here. And today is March 26th, 2020. And this is my third episode in a series that is currently being titled Starseed's Viral Journey, just because I don't know what else to call it right now. So I'm definitely documenting my progress of getting sick around this time. And also I can feel that this particular documentation is really starting to expand into more of a broadcast already. So, and just being able to communicate certain ideas. So I want to update my progress, what's going on with me personally, and then just kind of move from the micro to the macro, because it's been kind of a heavy day and heavy morning. Not surprising with the moon going to conjunct Uranus, which is not at an easy degree. Anytime it's at a 5-degree or any multiple 5-degree in the zodiac, it's usually a moment of either crisis or completion. So not easy with Uranus and Taurus. Big shifts. There was an earthquake off of Russia about 36 hours ago that was like almost an 8 magnitude, and so there was a tsunami warning in Hawaii, even though Japan did not seem to issue one, and then it was canceled. So, but that's the kind of energy that it feels like. And there are things in the household peripherally to me that also demonstrate those astrological things. Maybe it'll come up later. But for me personally, so about 3 days ago, I started developing symptoms of a cold. Now, as this title suggests, I am a starseed / light worker. Those are distinctly different things, by the way, if you didn't know that. So, but I identify as a starseed at this point. But it's all about being energy sensitive and usually some sort of healer. But at the very least, somebody who believes they are here for a mission, and now that mission is being activated right now, and has seen that this process that's unfolding is part of a much larger tapestry than maybe other people think at this point. So my perspective on getting symptoms and then how it's reverberating out, and then more of a collective kind of idea of what is going on right now, because I think there just needs to be voices from our camp essentially being willing to put themselves out there and to be available to do I guess crisis counseling. When you think about it, that's really what it is. Even this is the second take, and I was definitely a rambling, very high energy, I wouldn't say mess, but I needed to ground myself, and you can tell a big difference in the way that I'm able to communicate the information, and how when you're grounded versus when you're not, and all of this mental energy is happening, which is really, really easy right now. And it feeds directly into the topic for today, which is about sharpening your discernment tool by deepening your intuition, and also the practice of critical analysis as an energy intuitive, and why it's so important right now, and how to do that, an actually very practical way to do that. So the update for D personally is day 3 of symptoms. It is yesterday I had a headache. I didn't do anything except write the daily catalyst, and then I pretty much colored in my coloring book all day and listened to podcasts and stayed in my pajamas, which has become kind of a thing right now. And I'm sure most people are not, I think they can understand where that's coming from. And so had a lot of resting. So I have a little bit more energy, but there is an undertone of fatigue. That is the primary symptom right now. A little bit of drip from a tiny bit of congestion, but I really don't have any respiratory symptoms yet. It's just fatigue, really tired, and a sense that my immune system is on and it's working. And there were some preliminary symptoms, which I've talked about in earlier videos, that were just, things to be aware of. and at this point, what I've been advising people, because I am an LMT, so I have clinical licensure as a healthcare professional, and I'm a registered yoga teacher, and I studied in India. And so, I mean, as well as being a Reiki master and energy healer, an astrologer, which is my soul's work. I love astrology. And if you're a Starseed Lightworker, you should love astrology too, because it's kind of essential at this point to have it as your personal 4D compass. Oh my gosh, that's a different video. Anyway, I just got sidetracked. Okay, well, it's time to talk. You know, my symptoms are okay, and they're very subtle, and they are my immune system on. And what I've been advising people. And so what have I been doing? First of all, this is what I've been advising people to act as if you already have it, and start instituting your virus care protocol. And so you should do some research about that. But what I do is I use tea tree oil in my diffuser, and I'm huffing it through, the bottle. I'm not even taking it out of the bottle. I'm just opening the cap and taking a deep breath because it's my personal bottle. And then also putting it in like the diffuser, and so that there's a vapor, a tea tree vapor. You can also do a steam inhalation where you just put a pot of water on the stove and you heat it up until it's at least boiling or steaming. And then you get a towel and you just kind of put your head over the steaming pot, and you have the towel to catch it, and you can put essential oils. So a little bit of tea tree, not a lot. It's very astringent and potent, but it's antiviral. And so if you can get that into your nasal passages and your lungs before it gets into your lungs, you want to just eradicate it. And so you don't need a lot of tea tree, and that's why just huffing it every couple of hours right out of the bottle has been working. But you can also do a rub on your neck, and like near your lymph nodes and kind of on your chest as well, with like a carrier oil, like, almond oil or coconut oil is good. And you can get the tea tree here, but never take it internally. There's just no reason right now at this point. You just need to get it in. You can breathe it in and get it in there that way. So hot baths, short walks, anything that I have the energy to do, because passively moving things through my system, using heat and diaphragmatic breathing is one of the best ways to pump your lymph through its system, right? You have a lot of lymph nodes in your groin area. And so when your diaphragm is expanding and contracting really strongly, you're providing the muscle contraction that pushes your lymph system, because it doesn't have its own pump like the blood. Lymph needs muscle contraction, and it needs other ways of vascular flush in order to move. And so deep diaphragmatic breathing, sweating is that's, if you have a sauna, oh wow, lucky you. Heat seems to be a big one, and that's why the hot water too. So that is my daily protocol anyway, these warm fluids with lemon and teas and immune boosting kind of practices of sweating and exercise in some way, or even passively. So like taking hot baths, sauna, soaking, foot soaks are great. Warm foot soaks will do that. You can put the tea tree oil right in the foot soak, and you're getting the reflexology aspect of it, of the systems that need antiviral, which would be your respiratory system. And it'll get into your bloodstream in a way that will also go to, all through your body and just help keep your bloodstream clear. But lymph fluid. So I don't feel terrible, but I'm definitely sick. And so there's a lot of information going around. So a family member in the house had a coworker who passed away suddenly this morning. So those types of things, that's a very moon conjunct Uranus and Taurus, somebody exiting, especially that 5th degree of Taurus, it is rough. It is not an easy symbol, because it's about material, it's the first moment of material, like when you realize that materialism is impermanent. Impermanent. It's the essence of Buddhism in a lot of ways. The first realization, things die. Shit. So having sudden exits like that, and having it be emotionally very difficult, is not surprising. and you could really feel the tension and the nervousness now, because we don't know why he died. He could have died suddenly without the virus. I mean, there's so many things, and this again, intuition and discernment and critical analysis are going to be really important, because we're going to start getting swept right up into this like wave of where you ride it, you can't control it, or it's going to crush you. And it's the fear that is the wave that's coming. I mean, and the illness, but right now we have to deal with what's right in front of us. And there's not a lot of good, it doesn't look good in places like in other places in the world. And so there's a lot of areas, I'm in the Northwest, so we're really bracing for something terrible, but I think it's everywhere on the coasts. So just take care of your immune system as much as you can. It's one of your best defenses, and connecting into nature allows that. Energy medicine is where it's, when you don't have access to chemical interventions as much, and that could very well happen other than with your food. Energy medicine is going to need to be, and you can do that through plants, you can do that through minerals, and you can do that through energy work practices and movement practices like Tai Chi, Qigong. Yoga is an energy movement practice. It is not just a physical practice, obviously, at least to me. So these are things that you can do, and that we can teach each other online, rituals, self-care routines, all of this stuff. So keeping your immune system, though, that is where it's at. Like, I don't know why other people haven't started showing symptoms yet. Maybe because I'm very in tune with my body. Maybe it's just the timing. Maybe I was the carrier. I have no idea. But all I know is that I'm dealing with what's going on right here in front of me, and trying not to, as much as I can, connect to the fear element of what's going on out there in terms of bracing for this wave, because I've been preparing to surf this wave for my whole life. So I'm going to fucking surf it. And it's going to be scary, but you still surf it. So this is why this channel is here, to help you, everybody else who's been paddling out waiting for this wave to come, to actually, like, let's all do it together. So maybe you don't know that you've paddled out. Maybe you fell asleep, I don't know, but here we are, and it's coming. So so it's been heavy in the house, and people are getting scared, and this is why deepening your practice is so important, because the fear in the media, mainstream media, fear about this virus, fear about our future economically, fear about death. I mean, we're really just facing our fear of death collectively on a global scale. And this is where, this is the realm of Scorpio in some ways, but it's really the death associated with the end of Capricorn, where you make a transition from material reality to something transcendent, beyond just what you see in front of you. That's really where the death's going to be. And I mean, that's Capricorn energy. That's been what's happening for a while now. That was where Saturn and Pluto were conjunct. This is where the south node of the moon is. So it's really easy to get caught up in your personal belief system and its agenda. So as a starseed or a light worker, if you know that you're here to help, offer your hand for this transition in a way that's of the highest good and the light and love, like, of this planet coming together, if you know that that's what you need, that you're here to do, and you're ready to embrace that in any way that you can, you have to be willing to have critical analysis, and you have to actually, like, step up your game with having critical analysis, because it's really easy right now to be overtaken by all the feelings that we're having. And fear is so potent and strong, and so is anger, that it's really easy to get swept up in that as easily as it is to get swept up in your bliss, and almost to the point where you lose track of being here on Earth, which is not exactly blissful on boots on the ground right now. So we got to be able to, it's like surfing a wave. We just got to have the balance between, ourselves and the water. It's a dance. It's a fluid dance all the time. So Intuition will deepen as your practice deepens. This is happening very naturally because we're all being forced into our homes, into not working, into being like, oh, who am I? So this is why astrology is a great thing to invest in right now, because especially if you identify as a way show or a light worker, you start to have the inkling that you're here for a reason and there's a spiritual reason. Yeah, getting an astrological reading really will help calibrate your and orient your compass to what your mission is. Absolutely. And so, and I also do Starseed readings, so we can look deeper into where that's, you know, where that's in your chart, and where to, you know, orient yourself right now, especially if you're feeling like, I don't know where else to go except for fear, because that's the only thing that's right in front of me. So deepening your intuition will come from your practice deepening. So you're practicing meditation, you're doing more energy clearings, you're grounding into the earth herself, and accepting and receiving the support that she has, to actively do things that, you know, keep you grounded. So not engaging with the media so much, not trying to convince anybody necessarily to do anything, you know, really focus on keeping yourself focused on where your mind is, and your energy. And if you feel good or if you feel scared, and it's okay to feel these things, but you have to be able to be rooted into something while you're bobbing through all of this emotional stuff, because that's the moon, is a consistent cycle or rhythm of movement of how we feel. And so that will also keep us very balanced, right? To just deepen our, you know, as well as deepen our intuition. If we go deep in our practices, you have to be willing to look at the ways in which this is where it's like collective shadow work is coming. Because we have to, as light workers or a starseed or a way shower, it's imperative, I think, this is my opinion, it's imperative that we are able to, we have to sharpen our discernment, and we have to be willing to practice critical analysis. And because there's there's so much information, so much, and the only way to get out of that game of misinformation and manipulation on a subconscious level through advertising, through social media, through the way news media can be manipulated. I mean, that's not a big secret. So the only way to really know is that you have to sharpen that tool yourself. And so you have to start paying attention to things. And the best way to do that is to intentionally expose yourself to viewpoints and perspectives that you don't like and that make you feel weird, and be willing to just acknowledge that they're just a different point of view, even if you're just like, well, that's a really intense point of view that really advocates for doing something horrible. You still have to be able to understand where that information is coming from, and how this is the failure. I think this is my personal opinion. When we talk about politics, at least, this is the failure of the anti-Trump camp to get on board, not with Trump, but with their fellow humans, because they are still standing in their belief system, rather than seeing how we can all collectively take care of each other and move on from something. Because we can't. There's not been this level of like something to transcend until now. Politically, I mean, we will be put in a position where we'll have to either turn to each other and take that shit out of the equation, or it's going to be, I think that it could be more confrontational potentially, or certainly more stressful as this process unfolds. But all of that aside, I do feel like that we need to be willing to expose ourselves to these different points of view, and to see what it feels like when something doesn't feel right, instead of just constantly re-engaging with material that we know already believe. Like, that's easy, you know, and that's also the easiest place to get your fear stirred up, is these places that you think you feel safe and familiar, and they just are like ramping you up. We don't know what's happening. Like, we really don't. And I'm going to link something in to the description box, which is a video by another content creator that goes by Magenta Pixie, and she is she's a channeler and she's an author, and her information about this situation is, her information from my point of view, as a pragmatic and rational person as well, that really values critical analysis and is willing to go into things that are kind of like, well, I don't know if I really agree with that, just to like see where it goes, and add that to my overall, pieces of data. You don't just like take the stuff that you like if you're really going to be willing to go through a scientific inquiry, right? And if you're on the side of science and you believe in science, then practice it. And that means you are willing to take in all of the information and analyze it, not just the ones that emotionally make you feel safe and sound, because that's not responsible. And now, as this amps up, we have to be more responsible about the information that we're taking in and that we're putting out. This is very third house in some ways, because this is about the filter from which we understand reality. And so we're all being asked to step up and either communicate or to be willing to maybe entertain some different ideas, and realize that there's still always a way to synthesize and transcend, and we don't get an opportunity to do it until there is opposition and duality. And so almost seeing it as an opportunity rather than something that we're constantly pushing against, whatever it is, just like, this is wrong. And there are things that we already all collectively do agree. It's just, we don't have all the information. And so we have to be mindful that what we think is wrong is actually wrong. That's why we have to deepen our intuition, so we know what is right and what is wrong. Nobody can ever lie to you when we have telepathy. And so this is where the work needs to go. And this is communicating to each other, learning to accept one another's ideas and like actually listen, and expose yourself to different points of view. This is the aspect of critical analysis, is like so important. And if you are just touting the party line as a starseed and light worker, you're missing the boat on like why you're here. So this is where the critical analysis piece comes in terms of like a practical thing. I already said it. Just engage yourself in material that you might not necessarily agree with all right away, because like the podcast that I'm gonna link to, or the video, there might be some things, and I mean, she's speaking to people that would normally think that she is absolutely insane, what she's saying, and that's okay. It's okay to entertain that if you're just like, that's interesting, and you know what I mean, like, be willing to stretch your imagination a little bit to consider other perspectives instead of the one that's just constantly making you feel like we're all gonna die, because we are all gonna die. I mean, that's the reality, but we have a lot more power personally than we think we do, and we're still giving it all away. So just take a deep breath. Seriously, like every hour, take a deep breath, and do your research, do your homework, seek out different viewpoints. Don't rely on what's happening out there to give you a sense of peace and contentment and safety within. I'm scared, I'm sick right now, but I also have things that have led me to conclusions that allow me to, feel like that I'm gonna be okay. And even if I'm not, what am I gonna do about it other than continue to do the best that I can and not feed the fear machine? So, because I'm not that sick right now, and that could certainly change, and I'm not saying other people aren't, and I don't know what to do about that, regardless if the virus, where it comes from, the reason it's happening, and the response that's happening as well from government and political structures is a big deal right now. And that's, be mindful, just be mindful of that. Be mindful when channels of communication are cut off because people don't like to hear the message, because they say, oh, that's dangerous. Information's never dangerous, even though as long as there's a counter to it, you know what I mean? Yes, it's dangerous when it's the only voice being heard, but we don't live in that country. We live on a planet that has YouTube and you know what I mean? And they censor their material too. I mean, it happens. It's based on the algorithm. So they're even taking themselves out of the equation they don't even have anybody monitoring their content really that much like a human. It's all part of the it's all part of the algorithm now. And so they definitely will weed out certain things that come up that they politically don't agree with, because they think that it hurts the community. And it's not so much about the information, but it's when you close channels based on, but they have every right to do it because they're a corporation. They're not our government. They're not really covered under our Constitution of free speech because it's a private corporation that you're making a contractual agreement with as a user to that, you know, you have to abide by their guidelines. And so when they make their guidelines be like, we don't want to hear videos about X, Y, or Z on this platform because we think they're dangerous, they get to do what they want. So I personally don't agree with shutting down any channels of communication, but I understand why people would want to, because it is dangerous. That's the responsibility of free speech, is that we have to constantly be monitoring everybody's potential to turn into a bad guy because they think they're doing the right thing. And I know that's really political, but this is why it's so important that we stay focused on what's happening right in front of us, focusing on love, compassion, and forgiveness for each other, being willing to practice critical analysis, deepen our connection to the planet and to each other with love, and deepen our intuition about what is and what isn't, and be willing to entertain some things that you maybe challenge you. And that's okay. And if you ultimately decide, you know, that's not right, that's exactly it. You know, but you're giving yourself the opportunity to interface with data that you normally wouldn't, based on an emotional neural pathway of like, I'm scared, this is happening, because it's just not as black and white. Because if we make it black and white, then we lose, because then we will always be opposed. We have to accept the black and white and know that there is a gray that is coming, or that there is a merging, you know, that is coming, a synthesis, a new awakening that's coming, which is like just life being created. It's coming, and we have to, I mean, we are ready for it. It's just, there's so much information. And so since I also feel committed to this process of helping navigate, you know what I mean, what's going on, it's important that people practice, you know, energetic hygiene, and mental and emotional hygiene goes along with it, and doing the work you need to do. And it's okay to be scared, but it's time for us to kind of level up a little bit and start taking responsibility for the vibration, because that's going to make a big difference. Like, it doesn't help, and this is something that Magenta Pixie talked about, and it really resonated with me a lot, that it doesn't yes, that and this is so Neptune coming into 19 degrees of Pisces, it doesn't matter. Yes, the table is set now. That it is happening, like it's happening. The good things are happening, whatever you think the good things are that are coming from this. The transformation is happening, but you know, it's going to be, we're not there yet, and there's a lot of ways it could go. And we have a lot more control about how that process unfolds than we think. And this is the crucial time to get people on board with that, in terms of like, are we free or are we not? And right now, there are a lot of conversations that just have to happen that are uncomfortable, and that people are starting to really struggle. You know, there are things that there are certain subjects that are hyper political and also medical that are going to come right to the forefront in a way that's going to be unavoidable. So it's something that we have to start being mindful of, and we have to start educating ourselves and other people more. So that's my rant about discernment and critical analysis, and the need to practice it. It's very easy. Just expose yourself to information that you normally wouldn't, and see what happens. And don't just tout the party line, especially if you're a starseed or light worker, because this is the time when the 4D fuckery is going to be pretty high, I would say. And so we really need to be mindful of where we are situated absolutely right now. I feel very strongly about that. So thank you for listening to this. I feel very strongly about it. And there's going to be more information. I'm going to talk about in the next episode my own personal recent like walk-in history, the fact that there might have been a primer potentially to this virus that many people might have gotten much earlier in the year. And what else? I think that might have been it. I'm sure something else will come up in terms of a certain topic. So hit me up. All my contact info is in the description box below. I am not taking personal readings right now, obviously, because I am focused on my own health and wellness, but I am available to reach out to on social media and to contact through email if you are at least just looking for resources or want some validation for your experience if you're part of this at all. And comments are great. Let me know what's going on with you. It helps spread the information as well on YouTube, because now it's totally run by the algorithm. And so getting important information out is more crucial than ever as the channels are starting to potentially get more narrow. And yeah, thank you for being here. I really, really am grateful that you're here. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.